On a warm, humid day in the Ivory Coast of West Africa, the peaceful village of Ouida was suddenly thrown into chaos as a group of white men descended upon it. The villagers, men, women, and children alike, were rounded up like cattle and forced onto a large ship waiting in the harbor. The invaders seemed to show no emotion as they shackled the Africans and herded them onto the cramped, filthy vessel. The once serene village was now a scene of terror and despair as families were torn apart and loaded onto the slave ship. As the ship set sail, the journey across the Atlantic Ocean began. The conditions on board were horrendous. The Africans were crammed together in tiny, dark, and damp holds below deck. The stench of sickness and death filled the air as many succumbed to disease and malnutrition. The despair of the captives was palpable as they realized the full extent of the horror that awaited them on the other side of the ocean. Days turned into weeks as the ship sailed on, its course set for the United States of America. The Middle Passage was a living nightmare for the men, women, and children chained in the belly of the vessel. Disease and starvation ravaged the captives, and the death toll rose steadily with each passing day. The cries of the suffering echoed throughout the ship as the Africans prayed for a swift end to their torment. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the ship arrived in America. The surviving Africans were herded off the ship and taken to various plantations across the country. The once proud people of Africa were now nothing more than property, bought and sold like livestock to work in the fields and homes of their white masters. Life on the plantations was brutal and dehumanizing. The African slaves were forced to toil in the sweltering heat from dawn until dusk, their bodies broken and weary from the grueling labor. The men were treated as beasts of burden, while the women were subjected to unspeakable horrors at the hands of their cruel masters. But despite the cruelty and oppression they faced, the African slaves never lost their spirit. They clung to their traditions and beliefs, finding solace in each other and in their shared struggle for freedom. And as the years passed, a quiet rebellion began to simmer beneath the surface, a whisper of defiance that would eventually grow into a roaring cry for liberation. The story of the African slaves is a dark chapter in human history, a tale of unspeakable suffering and resilience in the face of unimaginable cruelty. But it is also a story of strength and perseverance, of hope and defiance in the face of overwhelming odds. And though the scars of slavery may never fully heal, the legacy of the African slaves lives on in the hearts and minds of their descendants, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. We are the resistance,